Well, indeed, good afternoon. Welcome. This is KTN Business Today. My name is Peter Akaba. Over the next 1 hour, we will endeavor to bring you up to speed on matters that are making business headlines, not just here in Kenya, but indeed right across the world. Of course, today, a wide array of stories that are coming at you from various different places, including, of course, the fact that, well, one of the conversations we plan to have here today is around the Day of Cooperatives, International Day of Cooperatives, coming up in just a few days this Saturday. And in studio, getting ready for that conversation, Mary Mungai, the Commissioner of Cooperatives, as you can see, getting prepped, ready to give us insights into just what to expect this year. Of course, the theme being around sustainability, producing and consuming sustainably. That, of course, has been the theme that has been set by the United Nations and, of course, Kenyans right across the world plugging into that conversation in just a few minutes. Also on this show, the fact that we will also be having a conversation around the issue of counterfeit goods, more around the motor vehicle sector and what that has, well, really led a situation between insurers and consumers and, of course, the motor vehicle repairers, the garages and that sort of thing. Two very special gentlemen here to talk to us about that much later on. One, of course, is Mr. Nyakundi Martin. He is the Chief Executive Officer of the Kenya Motor Vehicle Repairers Association, in Japheth Ogutu from the Consumer Downtown Organization. That, of course, he is the Executive Director there. That is on the second part of the show. First off, a quick look at the markets before we get into the conversation. We will be going live to Kisumu in just a few minutes to bring you up to speed on what exactly the conversation there is around finance and, of course, absorption of, well, various different resources. A quick look at the markets. We start off with the currencies and the dollar, pound, euro currency pairs. Well, the dollar versus the shilling, buying for 106.62 and selling for 100.82. Pound sterling 132.90, buying 133.20, selling, while the euro is pegged at 117.14 and selling for 117.41 shillings there. Well, let's look at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. These are the latest numbers, the numbers from the previous trading session, the market having just closed a few minutes ago. NSE performance turnover, 282 million shillings worth of shares changing hands. Shares traded, some 9.2 million shares there. The NSE 20-share index shedding ground slightly, 3,276.27 points on the day. Bonds traded to the tune of some 2.9 billion shillings worth. Well, what exactly are the counters that are driving that conversation? KCB, Safaricom, Equity Bank, Athi River Mining Cement. KCB, 4.40 million shares changing hands. Safaricom, 1,900,000 shares changing hands there. Equity Bank, 1.14 million, and Athi River Mining Cement moving some 480,000 shares on the day. Well, the bulls and the bears of that trading session, these are the winning stocks of the day. Deacons, East Africa Cables, Athi River Mining Cement, and the Flame Tree Group. Well, Deacons up 8.33% to 1 shilling 30 cents. East Africa Cables up 9.86% to 3 shillings 90. Athi River Mining up 8.96% to 3 shillings 65 cents. And the Flame Tree Group 3 shillings 70 cents, gaining 7.25% on the day. Well, finally, the bears of the trading session, these are the stocks that have lost ground. Samia Africa down 6.38% to 2 shillings 20 cents. East Africa Portland Cement down 5.85% to 19 shillings and 30 cents. Stanlip down 2.78% to 10 shillings 50 cents. And Sasini down 2.27% on the day to 21 shillings and 50 cents. Well, as indicated earlier, we want to begin this bulletin by that conversation in Kisumu County, where very own Kevin Ogutu is standing by to talk matters finance. He, of course, is looking at the issues from a perspective of whether countries are being able to, well, absorb their resources and what exactly is being done to improve that situation right there on the ground. Kevin.
A very good afternoon, Wakaba. Actually, the business news from this lakeside city of Kisumu is that the county government of Kisumu has now adopted a cashless revenue collection system. This follows a successful bidding of Strathmore University and Cooperative Bank, who will be charged with this particular responsibility. And just to bring our viewers up to speed on the revenue collection situation in Kisumu, Wakaba, the county has been collecting just about 1 billion shillings in revenue per year. And with this new system, the county government expects this to rise by over between 5 and 7 times. That is the expectation right now, given this new cashless revenue collection system, is that the revenue collected will rise to between 5 billion to 7 billion shillings a year. So Wakaba, I'm also glad to have with me the finance CEC in this county of Kisumu, one Mr. Neria Char, who will probably explain to us how confident they are, or probably the gaps that have been there that have made revenue collection quite an uphill task right here, if at all the projections that we have are anything to go by. Karibu Waziri to KTN News Business. So probably to tell us how you intend to go about bridging this gap and making sure that the revenue collection rises to what we've projected so far.
We have done our comparison with other counties, what they've been collecting, let's say Meru and Kiambu. Kiambu at the moment, after adopting this cashless system, they are able to capture about 45% of their revenue, and this is giving them slightly above 4 billion. And we believe Kisumu has got bigger potential than those other counties I'm talking about. So as you have said rightfully, we've been collecting an average of 1 billion per year, and I believe this figure can be between 5 to 7 billion.
Probably we can talk about the gaps that have been there now that you are the one in the office right now and the buck stops with you. Probably from what you've gathered since you came into the office, what have been the gaps that you intend to address?
The gaps which we have here, you realize, as rightfully said, that we are going cashless. You realize when you have people collecting money, the temptation is very high. And also, now with the cashless system, we want to map all our revenue sources, which was not there before. You realize that I've talked to Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, whether they have done some research in Kisumu concerning revenue. Unfortunately enough, they had some data regarding revenue in Kisumu. The indication is that we are collecting below 20% of the potential revenue. And out of this 20%, we are losing 60% of that 20%. So if you do your math, you realize that 40% of 20% we are collecting is giving us $1 billion. So what about if we can capture all our revenue streams and then collect an average of about 80 to 90%? That's why I'm coming up with a figure of about 5 to 7 billion. We've before we move to this cashless system, we've tried to just enhance through some measures before, and we have realized that the revenue can actually rise. One example is one revenue source where we used to collect an average of about 90,000 a day, and after just doing some adjustments, we are able to realize an average of about 500,000 per day. So that can indicate to you that we have massive potential to reach those figures I'm talking about.
Thank you so much, Waziri. Because of time, this is a discussion that could go on for long, but Wakaba, there are glaring statistics there regarding the figures, what has been collected versus what the county thinks should collect, and probably as this cashless revenue collection system is rolled out, we probably be waiting and seeing how far this goes. Back to you, Wakaba.
Well, that, of course, is our very own Kevin Ogutu coming live to us from the lakeside city of Kisumu. Of course, that county having just introduced the cashless revenue collection system. and so far only achieving about 20% collection, and of course that 80% still out there waiting to be tapped. Now, meanwhile, the Joint Committee probing the existence of contraband sugar in the country is expected to present its findings to the National Assembly this afternoon. The probe, which has taken slightly over 1 week, has seen the committee interrogate 4 cabinet secretaries, directors from the Kenya Bureau of Standards, as well as various traders. The committee members also visited various warehouses in different parts of the country where the illicit sugar was being stored. Well, for the hospitality industry to remain relevant and competitive in the economic world, technology and innovation are the top point of concern. Now, research conducted by the Radisson Blu chain of international hotels and resorts reveals that customers now use this as the basis for deciding their travel destinations. KTN's Julia Wino has more.
Basically, Peter, what we're trying to address today is look at some of the conferencing trends in hotels, being that most of the time people prefer having their meetings when they want to come up with a new plan, discuss them, come up with new plans for their businesses. They meet up in hotels and restaurants. And what we're also looking at is that a number of tourists, when they visit Kenya, they basically go to some of these hotels. But we also want to address some of the reasons that make certain customers go to certain hotels, prefer some to the other, and what we're also trying to help most of the businessmen in hotels to understand some of the things they need to adapt and need to do for them to be also outstanding and remain relevant in this kind of market. So first of all, I have Mary Wanjohi, who is with me here, one of the great dealers in this hotels business. She's going to give us a deep insight on some of the technologies that planners need to look for. Thank you so much for joining us, Mary.
Yeah, welcome. It's a pleasure. Yeah.
Please tell us your name and probably what you do.
Okay, so I'm Mary Wanjohi. I'm the Marketing and Communications Manager for Radisson Blu Hotel Nairobi, Upper Hill.
Right. Yeah. Mary, I'd like you to tell us what are some of the technologies that planners are looking for, not only business planners, but also tourists who come to the country. What are some of the new technologies they expect to find in a hotel or a restaurant?
Okay, to be specific, when it comes to the meeting spaces and for the planners, you'd find what they'd look at for is the audio-visual functions that you've got. Yeah, they need to be advanced. It's beyond having a projector nowadays. You need to have applications that can work. Yeah, like for instance, we have the WebEx platform, which actually helps people stream live from across the globe. Yeah, so you can actually have a high-quality meeting. Yeah, that helps you save on cost and time on the traveling aspect. Yeah, there's that, and there's also the introduction of apps. Yeah, actually event specialized apps. Yeah, which we have one of them, as I mentioned earlier on, the One Touch app, which actually helps the delegates have one platform where they can actually communicate before, during, and after the conference. So these are some of the things we're looking at. There's a lot more we can have. There's a voting digital tool that you find most of the delegates use, you know, and the fact that most hotels must have a really high Wi-Fi connection, like we have 100 Mbps. So those are things you'll find most of the planners or delegates or just your walk-in guests looking for. Yeah.
So what are some of the takeaway lessons of people in this business?
Oh yeah, when it comes to the meetings for you know, in the hospitality sector or venue holders, you'll be looking at, first of all, they need to be very creative and innovative in their products. You find planners actually have a high demand now. They no longer just want some space and furniture. They're demanding you need to be creative. They're pushing the envelope on us, on our end, to be creative in terms of the food offering. Yeah. Also, we're talking about the technology. What apps do you have that can actually assist them with their meeting? Also, the fact that you find a lot of clientele nowadays are actually asking how green and how safe is your hotel. Yeah. So in terms of the green, how sustainable, what kind of sustainable initiatives have you put in place? Yeah. Like if it's solar water heating panels, water recycling programs, like we talked about. There's a lot more that you have to actually put into place and consider, yeah, to be able to make sure that you still remain relevant in the market. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mary. And to my other end, I also have Susan. Susan, it seems like a number of times we have international planners coming in. So what exactly do they seem to be looking for each and every time they visit these hotels?
Okay. Let me first say my name is Susan, and I am the Senior Meetings and Events Sales Manager for the hotel and also the trainer for Africa. Let me say we have a very large market share of summits in Nairobi, in our hotel. And one of the key things that summits are looking for, all planners are looking for, is convenience. It's the accessibility. Can they be able to hold multiple types of events at any one given time? If they have a 4-day session or a 5-day session, can they do plenaries on one floor and be able to do both the plenary and the social program without losing their delegates? How convenient is it for them as the planner and for the delegates to network while having the conference and also during the social time?
All right.
Yes.
Susan, if you'd also like to tell us, you've only touched about the international planners, international delegates. Are we really having some of the guests from the local side or even East Africa who are actually coming up in these hotels for their meetings or even for their stay over or whatever kind of business they might be engaging in?
Yes, we do. We have quite a bit coming through. Obviously, you realize we tend to be talking about summits because most of the head offices are out of the country. So they are organized from outside the country and they come into Kenya. But we're now seeing mid-sized conferences, small conferences, board meetings, cocktails coming through East Africa and Nairobi especially. We're going out of our way to market Radisson Blu and our conference facilities to the local market because we want to show them what is it new that we can do with our experience meetings, our brain food, our brain box, the entire committed as you are positioning we have in the hotel.
Thank you so much, Susan. Peter, the main message that is coming out from this meeting today or this event today is that most of the business people in the hospitality and management industry need to make sure they engage further in innovation so that they can also sustain their customers to remain relevant in this competitive business. Back to you in studio, Peter.
Well, indeed, many thanks there to Julie Owino with a focus on hospitality trends right across the country. Now, we want to switch gears and this time focus on the cooperatives sector. This mainly because, well, come Saturday, of course, that being the 7th of July, it will be International Co-operative Day, and a very special guest to talk to us about that here today, Mary Mungai, the Commissioner of Cooperatives. Karibu sana.
Asante sana, Peter.
I think a good place for us to start is to look at the international perspective, where the United Nations has picked as a theme for 2018 the fact that sustainability should be at the heart of what cooperatives are doing. Talk to us about what exactly that theme means.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
And as you have rightly said, we are going to celebrate the International Cooperative Day on 7th of this month. Mm-hmm. At the national level, we'll all converge at Uhuru Park. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be a very good day. Mm-hmm. In the counties, however, it's also being celebrated.
Yes.
So this particular day is actually set aside. And it started way back in 1923, mm-hmm. but in 1995, yes. the UN actually declared it as an International Cooperative Day. Mm-hmm. So it's a day that is celebrated all mm-hmm. over mm-hmm. the world. Mm-hmm. And for Kenya, it's very interesting because, as you know, in Africa, we are the first. Mm-hmm. We are ranked as #1 the cooperative movement because we are big mm-hmm. and we have achieved a lot of mm-hmm. issues. Mm-hmm. So the focus this year is on sustainability for cooperation.
Yes.
So among the principles that we have in the cooperative movement, because we are guided, the business model is guided by the mm-hmm. cooperative principles.
Yes.
One of the key issues of cooperative is the outreach. It is a very inclusive model mm-hmm. because one of the principles is open and voluntary.
Yes.
It talks about democratic member control. Mm-hmm. It talks about member economic participation. And this is very important
yes.
because it is where we want self-help mm-hmm. by the communities. Self-responsibility so that we are able to do our things and define the agenda. The other one, of course, that is very key is on education information. We want people that are empowered.
Yes.
The other one is cooperation among cooperatives.
Yes.
So there is a lot of linkage. And the last one is concern for community.
Yes.
So how do we ensure that this is sustainable? And that's why they say this year's theme is sustainability for cooperation. Yes.
For many, many Kenyans, when you say cooperative or SACCOs, because that is the most famous model, they think credit. And the fact that this has been something that has been there for very, very many Kenyans. Indeed, for a lot of them, the fact that banks stopped lending to people because of the thing around the setting of interest rates and capping. This literally has been the thing that is lending to the entire economy.
Thank you. And I want to make that clarification.
Yes.
It's true the cooperative sector the cooperative activities can cut across all sectors of this economy.
Yes.
In the past, we have been very successful in the land buying.
Yes.
In fact, one of the themes for government in 1963 was to use cooperative movement for land buying so that they take over from the whites then. The next one that was very, very instrumental and it had a lot of impact was on marketing. And of course, you know, we pride ourselves in coffee.
Yes.
70% of the coffee marketed goes through the cooperative movement. Dairy, about 80%. So we are in dairy, we are in coffee, we are in cotton, we were in cotton. Also, we have cooperatives that are in sand harvesting.
Yes.
But the thing that has caught storm in the recent past is the SACCO. And this is what we keep on saying. SACCO is a subset of the cooperative.
Yes.
So there are many other areas that cooperatives can come together and pool their resources to ensure that they are responsible and they are conducting business that it's theirs. So the SACCO has been very successful.
Yes.
Because here is where members can now easily access financial muscle.
Yes.
And it has been very successful. And you have had even the numbers. Currently, we have about 22,000 registered cooperatives in our books, the running number. But the running number of SACCOs is 12,300. So it's like half. The model was so successful, and I think that's why it has caught off that much. So when we talk about SACCOs and the capping,
yes,
it's very interesting because if the cooperative movement are able to mobilize resources, the capping would have come very handy for the cooperative movement.
Yes.
Because you save.
Yes.
After you save, you get, over 6 months or whatever the bylaws of a particular society says, it says you can borrow 3 times. So, of course, there is normally that overhead.
Yes.
So what cooperatives do is that they give a loan for normal loans, especially in the back office activity, and you have no other pending loan. It means that if you get that loan at 12%, because most cooperatives will charge 12%, but it is on decreasing.
Yes.
So at the end of it, if you are paying after 4 years or 3 years, the effective interest rate will be between 5% and 6%. So it is very affordable.
Yeah. Let's talk about the fact that there are so many, the so-called self-help groups, chamas all over the country. And a lot of these either start as merry-go-rounds and that sort of thing, but eventually mature to sort of saving cash. And the next step would then be to invest it. But a lot of them have not been able to mature or graduate to the next level where they would become something like SACCOs or become incorporated companies. Do you think the cooperative movement can start to tap this and give them a bit of direction?
You'll be surprised that actually some of the very successful cooperatives we have started as chamas. And because in a chama they don't have a proper framework for investing, they normally transform into a cooperative. The thing is that those ones that have transformed, other to cooperatives, other to company, but there are many others, as you see, who are still small and who have not been able to transit to the cooperative movement. We have officers, and especially at the county, that are the ones who promote or tell them, sensitize them on the benefits of coming into a cooperative and the benefits of not just tying yourself into a small group of 10. The bigger the cooperative, the better, because the cooperative principle is normally to pool resources together.
Yes.
So that you can have a lot of muscle.
Yes.
Due to economies of scale.
Let's talk about the Big Four agenda and cooperatives, because this is something that the country has put out there. The president himself said that he was going to spearhead this and focus on those sectors in a big way. What exactly can the cooperative movement do to help this move along?
As I told you, the cooperatives cut across all sectors.
Yes.
Today we have 1,770 registered housing cooperatives. You'd be surprised that those registered cooperatives, 90% of the affordable houses in Kenya, 90% come from the cooperative movement. So this was a very golden opportunity, and actually the cooperatives are now on overdrive to try and contribute to that particular agenda.
Yes.
So in one of the areas that we are looking at is that we have cooperatives that have land and have the ability to put up houses.
They actually already have the land, which is one of the big factors.
I can tell you that the amount of land cooperatives have is quite a load of a bank somewhere.
Yes.
So there are those that have land and are developing for their members. These particular ones are now saying, we have engaged the Department of Housing and the related ministries. They're saying, if government can give us bulk infrastructure, that is roads, from the road to their plots, they will be able even to provide cheaper houses. The other categories are those cooperatives with land, but do not have the financial muscle to put up. Again, in collaboration with State Department of Housing, we want to put them under the National Housing Corporation. There's a fund there, and it will pull the land there. The government will develop, and then on behalf of this cooperative, sell those particular houses, and the cooperative becomes more liquid. And the next one, which is also big, is a SACCO, you just mentioned. There is this company that has been formed or being spearheaded by National Treasury. It's called Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company. The cooperatives have been invited, and we are working on the modalities of how they are going to participate in that. So they'll put money there, equity that is required, and then have a facility for a mortgage finance for their members. Because as I said, 90% come from cooperatives. So the housing one is very big.
I'll ask you to hold your thought because we have to go to a short break. But when we come back, we'll take your last thoughts on just what exactly the role then remains in terms of not just housing, but also food security, because they're very big in food security and that sort of thing. But just hold the thought. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. The break starts right now. Do stay with us here on KTN News.